Mrs. Milius?
Here.
Mr. Hull?
Here.
Mrs. Baker?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Rachel, please take the vote.
Mr. Chitwood?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell? Yes. Mr. Ewing?
Yes.
Mrs. Milius?
Yes.
Mr. Hull?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Approved.
Thank you. Would everyone rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to mission and vision. This is the part of the meeting where we read the mission and vision to keep that at the forefront of all of our thoughts and decisions. Our mission is to be a school district that engages students to learn, create, adapt, and succeed in an ever-changing world. And our vision is to maintain small town values and empower each student to achieve world-class success. Moving on to business with individuals.
No cards were presented.
Thank you, Rachel. Moving on, consent agenda, which includes approval of the consent agenda items, approval of the minutes, clerk's report, treasurer's report, payroll and claims, personnel, fall 2024 teacher requested supplementary materials, 2 paid holidays to 12-month employees for 24-25 school year, frontline data management tool contract, activity fund for Spring Hill Early Learning Academy, Insight Early Graduation Request, Special Services Cornerstone of Care Gillis contract, renewal of Destiny School Library Management System, and driver education fees for summer 2025.
All right. Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented and read.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Rachel, please take the vote.
Mrs. Mitchell? Yes. Mr. Ewing?
Yes.
Mrs. Milius?
Yes.
Mr. Hull?
Yes.
Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Horn?
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood?
Enjoy the extra long holiday. Yes.
Approved.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Dr. Luttrell, good news, recognitions, and announcements.
Yes, several different items this evening. First off, we do know, like I said, every year the school district participates in the Teacher of the Year, Kansas Teacher of the Year program. Every building has a nominee. We honor them, and then we select from all the honorees from each building 2 individuals, one from elementary, one from middle school, high school level, secondary level, and we then recognize those 2 individuals as the official Spring Hill Schools Kansas Teacher of the Year nominees that will go into the statewide competition for Teacher of the Year for 2026. And so we're here this evening. We invited both honorees. I don't know that both of them are here, but I know that we have Dustin Kirkpatrick from Spring Hill Elementary, who is our elementary nominee. And then we also gave the award for the secondary level to Carrie Smith from Spring Hill High School. This award recognizes, as we said, the outstanding teachers, especially the certificate teachers that excel in the areas of student success, content, innovation, as well as overall service to the profession. So we invited them here tonight to formally be recognized by the Board of Education with the formal come to the front, and we will pay honor. And we also invited them, if they would, to stay around and participate, as part of our holiday meal that we'll have later following the meeting. So if Dustin and Carrie are here, if you all would come to the front, we'll do some formal recognition as well as maybe get some photos. Let's give them a round of applause. Stephanie, you want to say anything? You've been with the district how long? Fourth year, and you're at Spring Hill Elementary School, you teach second grade. And we're very glad to have you. Not everyone wins an award like that, and now we wish you the best of luck in the statewide competition. Because when your application was submitted almost a month ago. So. Okay, well, again, thank you very much. Hopefully we get something else together. Hey, also, you remember about a month ago, we recognized our state championship varsity boys cross country team who had won the Class 5 state championship as well as had the individual champion. Well, if you recall at that meeting when we recognized them, they were headed to the first weekend of December out to Portland, Oregon, because they, after the state meet on their own, chose to participate in one of the Midwest regionals competitions for racing, which is a 3.1 mile race, same distance they run during the season. And they actually, because that competition became the first school ever in Kansas, high school wise, to win, actually get first place at a Nike regional, which then advanced them to the Nike Cross Regional competition, which was in Portland, Oregon. And they went there this past weekend. And I just wanted to tell you again that they did, again, represented Spring Hill USD230 very well. And they came up again. These are the best runners in the entire country, okay, at the high school level. They placed 14th out of 22 teams. Again, you had to qualify back at the regional level. There were approximately right at 198 runners that participated in that competition. Our local individuals, Logan Beckman, came in 42nd. He was our top finisher at a time of 16:08. And then the other individuals, Kaylin George came in at 16:28 and 77th. We had Megan True at 16:33 and 88th. Zachary Anderson at 17:13, 150th. Then we got into Jack Janovic at 17:20, 166th. And then we had Till Blazewicks at 18:40 and Dylan Estes at 19:29. And I put in there in the board docs the URL that anyone should be able to access. It actually has the results if you want to look in more detail from, because there were some very fast runners. I think the overall actual first place runner at that competition, tell you how talented those individuals are, was in the low 15 minutes. Okay. But again, that was a very quite an accomplishment by our boys team to keep winning the state championship and then keep on going, at that level. So I want to recognize them. Then we have a video that we want to shoot on every month. Some months we kind of have a spotlight video, and this month's spotlight video is going to be on a lady by the name of Susan Warner, who is a retired art teacher. And she loves teaching, and she wants to continue to support and encourage students by letting them know that they are amazing. And she is, to help her with her passion and kind of keep close to the kids being retired, she is the crossing guard that serves Prairie Creek Elementary School. And she'd been nominated back earlier this year for a standing ovation award by an actual Prairie Creek parent. And so there was an incident that happened. I mean, there was the recognition that this parent filled out on this crossing guard about the things that this crossing guard does was really, really outstanding. And we felt that it deserved, some more detailed information, especially with the video. And so we're going to kind of show you some of that highlight about this individual and some of the things that she does daily at around Prairie Creek here in this video.
You're welcome. I love kids. I love that I'm the first smile they see in the morning. And I just want to bring them happiness on their way to school. And the flamingos has always been a thing with me. I've collected flamingos and they're just fantastic. The first gift was my introduction gift to the families. I gave them a squeaky rubber flamingo, and just said, welcome to our flamazing corner, and your kids have been flamazing. And that was basically the start of it. I like play on words. I like doing fun things like that. So I think that's all the years in middle school and being a yearbook sponsor. Got me across. Go ladies. I retired from education 2 years ago from the Olathe School District. I was an art teacher at Prairie Trail Middle School. I wanted something to do, but I didn't want to commit to 8-hour shift. So I decided, hey, this is pretty cool. And I get to see the kids, and it's just kind of fun to be out in the fresh air. All right. Well, one of my former students I'm crossing her child now. We'll see you in the morning. Bye, Sparkle Boots. And it's just nice to know that they still see me out there interacting with kids and just being who I am. I like your font crust. Good. Happy Halloween. There you go. Hold on. I have fun with kids, and maybe it gives them joy on their way home and on the way to school. All right, come across. Have a good night. Get lots of candy. 2 chocolate bars for breakfast in the morning, okay?
Very, very neat experience. Like I said, we takes a lot of stakeholders to help make our school district successful. And again, it takes parents, it takes even individuals that don't even have children in our current school that actually do their part to help make our students, feel special as well as keep them safe. So again, a big shout out to Susan Warner for the role that she plays each and every day. That's my good news announcements and recognitions.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Luttrell. I see that crossing guard often, and she is a joy. She really does a great job with those kiddos. All right, well, moving on to our discussion items, 8.01 strategic plan update.
Okay, yes, we have another strategic plan update in the area of student success. And this one, as you know, we've given you a lot of the academic data with our ACT, our AP classes, our assessment scores. So this evening, we wanted to give you a little bit of update as we went into a year ago, we went into the first year of our real world learning grant, which is geared towards having students, become more involved with internships and real world learning experiences, earning credentials, and that's now required by the state boards. So we thought we would have this evening an update given by our real world learning coordinator, Leah Good, and she will give us some information as to some of the statistics and facts that they've compiled since the time that over the past 12, 18 months, not only what they've done, but what else is on the horizon that they're looking to even get more involved with. So Mrs. Leah, take it away.
Thank you for having me. So this aligns to our strategic goal, engaging students in real world learning opportunities to prepare them for future work and learning. So today we'll kind of talk about what that is. So in MVA, there's a lot of terminology with this, but that's a market value asset. So there's some different opportunities here, including a client connected project where students are working directly with a business or industry member, and they are doing a check-in, an initial meeting, a check-in during mid-progress, and then they do a final presentation with that business and industry partner. We also have entrepreneurial experiences where students are running their own business. So they're really driving from the start through actually development of their business and fulfilling their product or their business process, whatever that is. Dual college credit can be made up of AP courses, College Now courses. It does have to be accumulation of 9 credit hours for that to be counted as an NVA. So that would be 3 AP courses, as each AP course would relate to 1 3-hour college course. And then we have industry recognized credentials. So these are determined by our industry, Kansas, the State Board of Kansas, the state of education, Kansas State Department of Education, identify ones that are industry recognized, as well as we have some others that are locally industry recognized credentials. And then internships are a minimum of 120 hours working with that business partner. Most of our students are getting 150 to 300 hours during their internships. So in 22-23, which was our kind of predecessor year, was before our first full year, we had 499 MVAs attempted. 230 of those were full MVAs earned, and this touched 166 students. So last year, we had 788 MVAs attempted, 370 were earned, and we touched 338 students. So we actually increased in all of the areas of MVAs. So if we look kind of at a breakdown, this was the first year that we started really tracking all of our data. So 22-23, our seniors held 30%, had at least one MVA. Total, we had 17% of our students with at least one MVA. So this was kind of prior to our first really big push with MVAs. Through our work with the Kauffman Foundation, we increased almost every category and group of students. This moved, so our freshmen were our current freshmen, our sophomores were our freshmen the year prior. And so looking with 53% of our seniors, and our goal is by 2028 to have 100% of our seniors have at least one MVA. They'll have to have 2 post-secondary assets, which is a little bit broader category. As our senior comparison, so in 21-22, 25% of our seniors graduated with one MBA, 30% last year or 2 years ago, and then we jumped to 53% last year. Based on this growth, 100% of our students will have at least one MBA by 2028. So I believe we'll actually hit this in 2027, and then we'll be working towards getting those students more than one MBA in 2028. KSDE asks for our career and technical education student data, and this is broken down by pathway. So I've listed all of the pathways here. You'll notice where it says 1 to 1.5 credits, that is a participant. So this kind of just breaks down where are our students taking their courses. 2 to 2.5 credits is 2 full years. 3 or more would typically relate to 3 more years or more classes. We, out of our entire student body last year, we only had 50 students who did not take a CTE class. And so we had 995 students total. So it was kind of interesting to look at that data and know that our CTE programs really are hitting almost all of our students in some way. So we had participants, which is kind of the lowest level that we report to the state, and they've taken 1 full year or 1.5 years worth of classes at the high school level. 213 had 2 or more credits, and then we had 24 completers. To be a completer, you have to have 3 full credits in that CTE pathway, and then you have to have either an industry recognized credential, a high quality work-based learning experience, which would be like our client connected projects or entrepreneurial experiences or internships, or 9 college hours aligned with that program of study. So looking at what their program of study would be in that pathway. As we broke it down, that 24, we had the majority in our health science pathway, followed by our digital media pathway. And then this is just kind of a graphic to show the students who participated in each program. Our top 3 programs are digital media, restaurant event management, and agriculture. And agriculture is combined of 3 pathways. We have our diversified ag or comprehensive agriculture, plant science, and animal science. And so these are kind of the programs that we're looking to expand on in our next bond and to really support the programming needs of these 3 pathways. Tonight, I hope that you guys enjoy your meal at the board dinner. And we have some sides and desserts made by our culinary arts students, and the centerpieces were prepared by our horticulture students. Does anyone have any questions?
I do have a couple of questions. What do you think the
the biggest barrier is to like getting those seniors to all have one? Like, you know, because you're saying 2027, so that's still a couple years out. What are going to be the biggest challenges to doing that?
I think when we look at MVAs are going to be a little bit stricter on the requirements. So when we look at the graduation requirements for our freshmen in 2028, the post-secondary assets are a little bit broader, so it will make the achievement of that easier for those students. And I think our biggest barrier with client-connected projects is the clients, because it is such a big push in the metro area. There are only so many businesses with so much bandwidth. And so I really try to work well with the Spring Hill Chamber as well as the Overland Park Chamber to hit some of those smaller businesses who don't get hit up by our larger school districts. And I just think fitting it into their schedule also is a barrier for some of these opportunities.
When you say fitting in your schedule, do you mean our traditional schedule here, instead of having like a block or more time, that it's harder for the kids to find that time to be at those places?
Yes. Yeah. So for an internship, right now, when a student has to travel for that, to be funded by the state, they can have 2 hours out of the building and still be funded. And so it just becomes a little tight if you're traveling to Olathe and you have a 20-minute, or when we had an intern in our interior design program, she was traveling about 30 minutes down there, 30 minutes down and then 30 minutes back. So by the time you're there, your hour of school is up, and so you're putting some time outside. So we run into those challenges, especially if students are involved in sports or other academic programs after school, so that they have to be back in Spring Hill.
And for the dual credit, that's one of those classes where they have to take the test at the end to receive the college credit. Is that right?
Some of them. So for the AP courses, they would take the AP exam at the end. And then in order for that to count towards their MBA, they would have to score a 3 or higher on that AP exam.
Okay.
College now is a little bit different, the requirements there for obtaining that credit.
So is that one of the leading reasons why some of the MVAs aren't successful, is because they don't get that grade?
I would say that leads some of it, especially with the dual credit, because we have a lot of students who are attempting it. That also, like our data showed that we had 788 attempted. Some of those won't become a full MBA until next year because they take 1 or 2 courses their junior year. Well, they have to have 3 unless they've taken another college course in order for that to come to fruition. So I think that does come into part of the barrier.
Right. When this becomes a graduating requirement, will you try to push to have, if they're going to count on this one, they really need to count on their junior year in case something goes wrong?
Yes.
Because that test is hard and it's a little bit subject because it's a college level test.
So ideally, we're really trying to have the students track those post-secondary assets starting their freshman year using Zello, so that they will be able to kind of keep track of that, having their advisory teachers also check in, so that we're kind of monitoring and we're not going, okay, we're really banking on you getting a 3 on your AP test your senior year. We would like to see them have more. And I think our students do have opportunities to have more than 2 post-secondary assets before graduation. And being able to track that their senior year, we can say, hey, let's maybe look at this other opportunity that will be able to get you that.
That's right. Communication will be key with that one.
Yes.
On the, one of the things you mentioned was entrepreneurial experiences. How is that defined and how is it reported? Does that have to be done during school hours, or are there like kids that are on farms that are doing eggs or something like that? Does that count? Bees?
Yes. Actually all 4 of our entrepreneurial experiences last year were students who are participating through agriculture. And it is their SAE, their supervised agriculture experience. So with that, they have to document their hours that they're working. They have a supervisor. Some of those are working on a family farm. And so they document it through that. The general definition by Kaufman is a little bit more broad. And so it's making sure they have that business plan and then they're actually running the business. So
there could be students out there actually running real businesses, but they don't necessarily have a business plan. They're not being supervised
Yes.
per se, that wouldn't count for this.
Yes, I know of one student right now who had just was brought to my attention the other day when I was at the high school that is running a business. But because it's not connected to a class right now, we don't have a great way of reporting it. So looking next semester when we launch our Zello work-based learning platform, I think that reporting those opportunities that students are involved with will be a little bit easier, and hopefully we can capture more of those students who are doing these great things outside of school, and really connect them, make sure they're connected with a business person. Maybe they don't have a mentor that could talk to them about marketing opportunities, and that's where that work-based learning platform can come into play.
I bet there's more of that than what you think, for sure. That's great.
One more thing, at our career fair, there were quite a few businesses that said they have opportunities for our students that we've not utilized, but I wonder if the connection, the communication isn't there yet. What is the best way for businesses to get involved? Because we had quite a few, I mean, I could probably name 6 that said they had internships or opportunities for our students. What is the best way for them to get that going?
So currently right now it's just getting in contact with me, and then I spread the word through our teachers and things like that. When we launch our Zello platform, our work-based learning platform in second semester, we will be able to put those opportunities there. Students will be able to contact businesses. Businesses can say, hey, we have this internship, and it will be able to reach a broader network of students, because right now we're really going forth from a teacher and we're saying, hey, we have this opportunity. Only kids who've taken a health science class currently are seeing this opportunity, but maybe we have a student who didn't take one this semester, but they're still interested in it. So that will allow us that opportunity to catch those students who are not currently enrolled in that CTE specific class with those opportunities, and we'll be able to load those in there.
And does it remind me, is Zello the opt-in program? Or is that not this? That's a different one.
Zello's on the AUP, so every parent signs off on their student being able to participate.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
And on that, kind of on that note, Leah, of the 24 completers, I get the 3 credits, right? I think I get the 3 credits. A credit is acquired based on 2 semesters, a year of completion, right?
Yes, correct.
So to get 3, it's sophomore, junior, senior year.
Sometimes they're freshman, sophomore, junior
Okay.
year. Yes.
Yep. So it's the plus IRC. Is there one that kind of rises to the top as far as the majority of them? Is it the JUCO connection for
so-
credits, or?
Looking kind of at our opportunities here, health science, those 9 students, it's going to be their industry recognized credential. In our health science classes, those students are getting their BLS CPR certification, so their basic life support CPR certification, as well as we have several students who get their CNA certification through that. So that is typically in health science, that's their leading. In our other pathways, it is actually the high quality work-based learning experience is our leading kind of extra that those completers have reached.
Okay.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Leah.
What, since I'm disappointing everybody, I will, because Bs were mentioned. A Spring Hill High School student may or may not be getting a scholarship through the regional organization through the ag class. So look for it near you. There you go.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Leah. We appreciate you. Okay, moving on. We have an action item.
Yes, last meeting, again, the teaching and learning department presented the course guides for the elementary, middle school, and high school for the 25-26 school year, because we usually do that, try to get those reviewed and action before the first of the year, because when we come back in January, shortly thereafter, believe it or not, like I said, many of our school personnel will begin enrolling for 25-26 school year. So we ask these are get action through tonight, please.
Can we have just 2 seconds of discussion,
Yes.
Madam President? Which was, these were the materials that were presented out in the main foyer for a week here recently? Is that next year's books? Okay, there's kind of where I'm trying to get to is there or is there not any new textbooks in what is being approved here? Yeah, it's a course guide, but it's related to the textbooks. And so does it contemplate, cart before the horse, are we approving something that does not have materials for it approved? Is the-
Anything that would be new, we wouldn't purchase materials for until we would know if we have the course.
Okay, but I'm backing up to we're approving the offering of a course before we have the material.
Yes.
And that is the question that I am posing because last year, or at the beginning of this year, we were in that very scenario of, we have students enrolled, we're having classes, you must get this done. And
No, we won't run into that this year. We have a good timeline going, so we're good. The new courses that are on here are AP courses, and those work a little bit differently. So that comes from, those resources would be identified when the teachers go to training. And that has its own adoption process for the resources.
okay, so the question still remains, I just want to say it. So there are courses in here that we don't have material approved
Correct.
for. Okay, I just
Yes.
want to be finite on that. And so we have a timeline. What is that timeline? At what meeting? Where are we at? 'Cause-
So AP training takes place in June. So there is an AP Summer Institute that is hosted in Olathe that we will send typically they offer any of these courses that we would be offering. And that is where they would get some guidance on the approved resources from College Board. And then we would bring those to you, that recommendation.
I'm being the stick in the mud, which is
So like July, August? Well, it'd have to be July.
Typically,
before
yeah.
school started.
It would be July.
Okay,
Only for AP, yeah.
right.
It has its own, yeah, it has a different one. The rest of the resources that you were talking about that have been sitting on the table out here, you will get those recommendations for piloting in January.
Yeah,
And
those
so
are,
those will all be taken care of, yeah.
and so that's kind of the second part of it, which is the AP won't be going through the pilot program or,
They don't do all of that now.
okay.
That's what we had to approve early this year was the AP World History.
Government.
That was from
Yeah.
last year.
That was from last
Kind of
school
had
year.
it starting second
Yeah,
semester
sorry.
and we hadn't, but these are all for the next fall. So we've got,
We have plenty of time.
So on the,
But these are classes that are starting August.
Right.
Correct.
So we'll have to approve it in July.
So
at
there-
the latest.
Yes.
So there's 4 weeks. That's where okay.
I think the concern is running into what we ran into in January, where we have kids enrolled, but no
Oh,
book or
no.
curriculum.
That is not an ideal scenario. That is not what would happen in this case. They will come back with recommendations from AP. And then we would bring that recommendation to you.
but it is on a compressed timeline.
It is, but it doesn't go through all of the steps that we go through with a normal core resource adoption because we have limited resources to select from.
True.
AP tells you what is accepted, so.
Well, and as far as the course guides are concerned, Kristen, I noticed there were no changes and it's probably typical, right, in elementary.
No.
Those, right? Because
Right.
it's really about either swapping out or adding to the course curriculum more than
Yes.
anything else, right?
Yep.
Yep.
And there aren't a lot of kids in elementary school don't really get to pick if they would like to take English or not. So-
Right, right.
Okay,
Madam President, I move the board approve the 2025-2026 course guides for the high school, middle school, and elementary school as presented.
I'll second.
all right. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Rachel, please take the vote.
Mr. Ewing,
Yes.
Mrs. Milius,
Yes.
Mr. Hole,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell,
Yes.
approved.
Wonderful, thank you. Moving on to future discussion items. I think, anyone have anything new they would like to add?
I do. I was in a site council meeting and through some of the conversation, we got onto the topic of the class cap sizes for the elementary school. And I think right now the current cap is 26. But it sounded like they had cubbies and space to support 25. And so at 26, we have a student who has to get a little creative. So I'd just like to review that. I'm curious how that discussion happens and maybe if we can help make sure it's easier on the teachers not having to get creative. And I don't know if that's in all the schools, but I'm guessing it's in the three that are all the same. Wolf Creek, well, I guess the four, Wolf Creek, Timber Sage, Dayton, and Prairie Creek, maybe, is my guess.
Okay. I bet that's something that we could probably discuss as we talk more about the options for our bond. Like that makes a little sense there.
Yeah, it was something I had never considered. It just,
Yeah, okay. Rachel, please add that. Anything else or does anyone see anything they'd like to take off? I know that we had a discussion about the ambulance service and how that played out this past year. You weren't here and we didn't want to take it off since it was really one of your babies.
Yeah, I don't know what actually was resolved of that because I wasn't here, so.
There was discussion, again, we kept contacting and working with Johnson County, MedAct, and while they assured us, again, that for whatever reason, they just cannot commit, they did. We'd had one in every game till they had to be called away, but part of that though was, I think once we got him here, we did have some individuals that definitely made sure that their stay was very pleasant while they were here. Whether it maybe some free hot dogs were delivered to the ambulance or whatever. And so I think that made them maybe, oh, let's go back to, but no, this year, like I said, it worked out well. We will probably, like I said, more than likely, want to follow up again, see if we can do the same thing in the next fall as well.
That's good then, I think.
You're okay taking that off?
Mhm.
Awesome, thank you. Anything else, additions or subtractions?
Is it strictly that, or can we also ask for, what kind of timeline are we looking at for some of the things that are on here, like the walkie-talkie two-way communication? There was a development just today, actually, I think an update that you had sent out. And I just went blank on it, but I don't know that we necessarily put it here or somewhere else.
Yeah,
But let's just focus on the walkie-talkies. The other thing will come back to me.
no, a couple of the items on there, I can tell you, like I said, the walkie-talkies, we have continued to have conversations, with our administrative team. And the latest we come up with was, we've got a great plan, but we were wanting to pilot it in a few elementary schools, like one at the elemental, make sure that it works away. So that's in place. Then we would probably then, if that works well, then come forward to maybe bringing back the recommendation to go large scale because of the fact, like I said, it's, we want to make sure that we're going to we do it right and that it works. And like I said, our technology department has worked hard to come up with some options. And like I said, so when we met last as an administrative team, it was determined that we would try to pilot it at a few places starting this next semester. And we should be able to get some good feedback on that. So it's definitely still moving forward. And then the legislative priorities, I know that, KSB approved their legislative priorities agenda back at the convention last month. I know that typically Johnson County school districts tend to go along kind of somewhat with the KSB platform, but they typically will also, the last 3 years, have tried to do where they bring the Johnson County School District, a board representative from each district together with the superintendent. They usually try to take one 90-minute period for lunch, and they try to all meet and they try to then draft if there's any other initiatives they would like to see in the legislative platform. And they haven't got that date yet, but I anticipate it's going to be sometime in January. So I'll be getting that out, especially to the board president once I get that, but I have not received it yet. The security risk assessment, it was just last week. Like I said, we went through the Kansas Department of Education. They have a security person that does those. And we were on their list back in September, and they finally got around to us. They did come on site and look through several, well, they don't walk through every building, but they look at like an elementary school, a middle school, and then we'll make recommendations. They were just on site last week. And again, we should be getting some type of feedback or report from them sometime in the near future, but they did come and do their initial to give us some recommendations just last week. So those are the ones that I can definitely update.
Wonderful. So do you think it would be okay if we put the legislative priorities on our January meeting so that we can all have a conversation on anything that maybe then give feedback as you go into your superintendent meeting? Rachel, could you help us do that, please? Thank you. All right. Well, any other thoughts or discussion there?
Well, it did come to me, and again, I don't know if this is the appropriate time or place, but it has to do with the compression on the strategy with the bond that was discussed today. And, not discussed, but shared today. And I'm just curious, I'm not going to call it a pattern, but I'm already feeling a little anxiety that we're kind of getting backed into a corner as it relates to that particular issue. And it backs us into a corner with this overhanging facility assessment that we've been waiting on forever, even prior to my being on the board. And so I want to make sure that whatever does it need to be a discussion item? Does it need to actually be put on the agenda for the January 13th meeting? So that we're seeing some forward progress on the piece that's missing that I would hate to trip us up. Does that make sense, Dr. Luttrell?
I think so.
And I don't mean to be cryptic about it, but
No, the January 13th agenda will definitely include the another discussion on what the recommendation was from the Community Engagement Committee, as well as the near final draft of what the facility assessment plan when final form would look like. I mean, it's going to be pretty well. That's the goal, is to have it in finished format at that meeting, just to look at and review. The other piece you're referring to there that I referred to in my update to you on Friday that I just came about last Friday was, out of all this, was we're working with, the Johnson County on making sure that the May 6th date for the special election will be doable for all parties. I had a conversation this afternoon with the main official at that office, and I'm still very optimistic that we can work out and make that happen. And I should know more.
I think that's probably good. I think that we can probably put all that on our agenda in January. But I think it is critical detail that Doug brought up, that having that completed. I mean, we have over a month until our next meeting to have that facilities. Remind me, guys, what's it called?
Yeah, building assessment.
Facility assessment. Thank you. Building assessment. Yes. Completed. I think that all of us are in agreement that it is hard to move on without that completed. And
we need to know what we have to spend before we can decide what we want to spend.
Definitely. And I will succeed, even as recent as last Friday morning. Again, there were Mr. Meek and I and Mr. Delphia, and as well as Mr. Earhart all met, and we continued to go through the document, making sure that it was going to be in the format that was requested, as well as contain the items in the ranges that we, and periods that we had, along with, cost analysis estimates. And I have reiterated even then as well as before that, that portion of it is going to have to be, everyone is in agreement. That's the document that's going to help guide us forward before everyone's going to feel comfortable moving forward with the resolution to put the ballot out there. And so we're well aware of that. And I'm very hopeful that we will that they will bring a good final document forth on January 13th.
Perfect. Okay. Any other discussion for future discussion items?
Actually, I'm not sure a good timing on this, but it was mentioned at our work session. And we've talked about it several times, the idea of getting corporate involvement in our programs like CTE programs, or even just curriculum in general, with financial backing. And I think it might be interesting to do some kind of a conversation about that, because I don't think that stuff just happens. There has to be a person behind that. And so just maybe some ideas on how that could happen, like how maybe the board could help spur some of that, or facilitate that, or help.
Yeah,
that forward.
and that came up, said as part of even during the community engagement group meetings, as people said, hey, if we're going to do, perhaps, start weighting in the formal, CTE type emphasis and have programming for that, if we have partners to work with. And so, like I said, that we have had some, discussions internally. I know that there's been some outside sources as well, talk to us about some grant funding that we might want to at least, look at pursuing, that would give us some seed money to do some things with. And like I said, there's been conversations as well, with our teaching and learning department, Dr. Robinson, and we hope, again, as we move forward, we can continue to share more. But like you said, no, we know it's going to take money, and if we can get those partners, it's going to help us even more. So, yes.
Any other discussion items? Okay. All right, we will move on to board 11.01, the board work calendar. I took a look at it. It looks like one thing that we haven't discussed, and please help me if we have, is our district fees, our annual district fees that we typically approve in December. Will we see those in January or February? Oh, it is. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, anything else?
Can we put a stub in for the July meeting to approve these new books? There's no July meeting on the book because we don't do that calendar until later, but as recognized, it's a deliverable.
Do we want to add it just to our annual calendar to make sure that we have it in July to approve AP course curriculum? And then as we get there.
Because that's
Pretty pleased.
probably something that's going to be an annual thing
Yep,
now.
I would
hopefully,
agree with
we're
that.
Growing that
Absolutely.
program. So,
Rachel, could you help us do that? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, any other discussion on the board work calendar? Okay, moving on, 12.01, Board of Education member reports.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, did I skip one?
No, you didn't, but action on a website vendor before a discussion. I'm sorry, it's the January 13th.
Oh, go back.
Is that, are we really looking to approve something before a presentation on that?
No, again, I don't think that one's been updated yet, but we're in the process still of working with
Okay.
our communications department on the website. You're talking about the website
Yeah.
platform, and what is going to happen on that is we kind of slowing that process down just a bit. But our goal is to present and probably this Friday's written update to you. There's going to be actually a communications department will outline in writing kind of the process of where they've been with that, where they're at, kind of recommending as we go forward. And then from that, we'll be deciding when we want to bring that to give some more information to y'all. But there's not a definite action date for that yet. We will become for discussion at some point, but not fully decided. But a lot of that will be outlined in your Friday update when we get
Okay,
there.
that's, I just, as long as we're striking that from the action list, that's,
Yes.
I'm good.
All right, so officially moving on, Board of Education member reports.
I have a few. So I attended Candyland at She's. It was a free family night. It was phenomenal. The decorations were great. I would tell every single person listening that if your school opens up for the evening, take your kids. It's so fun. They get to show you all the cool stuff, and the school looked so pretty, and it was student led, so it was really neat. Same realm, I attended the multicultural night at Dayton Creek. That was phenomenal. The families prepared foods and different things to try. One family was roasting coffee beans and making coffee on site, which smelled phenomenal and was delicious. My chicken nugget mac and cheese kid fell in love with a Brazilian soup, and the woman very kindly provided the recipe for everybody. So again, free event, school put on. Please attend those because they're super, super, super cool. And I was at the Apex Color War fundraiser at Forest Spring. That got a lot of really positive comments and information. So I thought that was promising. And then the biggest one, I attended the Beauty and the Beast at the high school, which was a phenomenal production. Really proud of what those students, the time and dedication. I mean, they just put in so much to make those shows so successful. And the staff, Miss Wendell and her crew that helped put that on, just really do a phenomenal job. And then I had 2 site councils this week. Both were great. Both hit on the goals that we've been kind of pushing, and just trying to make sure that we're doing the best for our students.
I attended the Spring Hill Middle School Site Council meeting, and it was the day after our work session. So they had lots of questions about the presentation. He actually brought up, it's a parent that's the chair, brought up the presentation from our work session and had some questions. So that was good. Yeah, just I was trying to pull up my agenda to see some more things about that, but I don't have any other thing that really stood out about that meeting.
Well, I did attend the KASB conference last month. I think I might be the only one. But I sat through a few awesome sessions, one on strategies for engaging Hispanic and non-English speaking families. So I hope to share some of that very soon. One on our Kansas Future Teacher Academy that is done in the summer for students, that is 5 days at Emporia. At the Emporia campus, costs $100 for students. Very awesome. It's like its own little community. They just really light the passion for education into these young people. It's very exciting to see. And I did win $500 donation to our chef, and had it earmarked for scholarships for this academy. So I thought it was very cool. And I felt like I sat through one other really great one. Maybe I did not take notes on it, but it was really great. Always fun to get with other people that have education as a passion, and seeing that. One of my favorite things is I love when we showcase our students, and each district around Kansas has the opportunity to showcase their students, and seeing some of the highlights in each of them was really, really cool. So there's a lot of little coffee shops and entrepreneur things happening at a lot of them. just a lot of little different quirks to each district. So some of my favorite parts are seeing those kids there.
I'm glad you mentioned it. I don't have to, but, and this is not so much a report. I guess it is a report, but it stretches into the future on some things that I'm planning on attending. On the 11th, the orchestra over at the high school. On the 12th, the rep theater. On the 16th, the band. And on the 18th, the choir. And I think I'm missing somebody and I can't place it. But I think somewhere it's either dance or cheers somewhere in there as well. So check your calendars. I hope to see everybody there.
And thank you for reminding us of the conference. I also attended that. It just feels like forever ago. But I sat through a couple of really good sessions. One was on safety, which has kind of been a hot button for our district right now. So I've got some great stuff to share when that comes about. And then I sat in on another one about AI, which I personally really like using ChatGPT. And I think that it's something that we need to learn more about and how we can use it in our district to make maybe things more efficient. But it was just really great being there with everybody and getting to talk with some of our the businesses that are going to be helping us with our bond. That was a really great dinner, getting to know the Newkirk and Novak company a little bit better, and also just networking with other districts that have some similar things going on.
I went. I attended 2 sessions. They weren't good. That's all I got to say.
Wonderful. Anyone else? Any other comments?
Similar experience?
I went as well. I attended some sessions and I don't want to scare anybody by saying what they were. No, I'm kidding. No, attended, had a good time in terms of learning opportunities. So.
All right. Okay. Well, moving on to superintendent reports.
Very brief. Like I said, I kind of touched a few minutes ago that we did have at our work session last week, the Community Engagement Committee reported out the recommendation as to what they felt was the best way to continue addressing and managing our growth successfully. And if we were to move forward with a bond, what that might consist of in terms of projects we'll be bringing back after the feedback you gave that night in terms of some additional information, insight you wanted, as well as the draft of the facility assessment plan will all be coming back to you just again, more for discussion on the January the 13th date. So we will heat that up. And like I said, our goal is, as we said, we continue to work since Friday with the election office, and hopefully we will get that all mapped out so we can continue on with our timeline that we had. I'll keep you updated on that. Mr. Hull made a great comment about this is definitely the time of year where we have a lot of holiday programs at all levels in full swing, along with our winter sports kicking up into high gear. So if you can get out to any of those, I'm sure our students would appreciate it. On my Friday update every week, as you know, we do include a link where you can try to find what's happening across the district on various evenings. And then that brings in 9 days left until our semester concludes, which is Friday the 20th, and then classes will resume January the 6th. Like I said, it looks like we might make it to the 20th without having missed any days in the school year due to weather. And if that happens, I always consider that a very positive thing. So that's my superintendent's report.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you all for being here tonight. We are adjourned.